So we're streaming live, but no one has the link yet, and it's not posted anywhere. Just so everyone knows, it's going to show you that we're YouTube live.
I see that.
And we did one level of future proofing to then we're taking that stream and we're putting it on our website, just in case something happens, we can refresh it. So John is going to put that on our site. And when it goes on our site, I'm going to tell you, because then that means that people can start to see it. Right now, it's just a button. Oh, look at Tammy and her lamps. Tammy's setting up some lamps.
Don't care about my face. I just don't want Shelly to look like she's in the dark. Oh, it doesn't work.
I should, here, I'm going to take a picture of my setup. It's really great that people can only see like what you want them to see, right?
I wish my video quality could get better. I don't know how I can.
Does that help at all? Not really.
That did nothing.
How about now? That's a bit better.
Oh, that's better. Yeah. Yeah. Now you look like you have Studio Pro lighting. You look so good. You're looking really good.
Something to do like the wind blowing.
Guys, we're in unprecedented times.
Good luck with that.
Some more light. Okay, do you want to see? Denise,
Okay, I'm going to go fill up my tea.
Good.
And I will be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Great.
Hi, Shelly.
Hi, Denise. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How can you boss it?
Yeah.
Just one of those things, you know.
I feel like almost every day is one of those days. When I get a regular day, I'm like, oh, that was so nice.
And this is what it's supposed to be like. Yeah. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's weird, you know, like I'm in this room by myself and
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah, I just spoke
No
to,
crowd to feed off of.
I know it's weird. I just spoke to a bunch of international students from all over the world, so that was weird too. They're all in different times, somewhere in the middle of the night. It's kind of weird.
It is. It's super cool. Like Dave was saying, it's super amazing what we can do now.
Totally.
You know.
Okay, Denise, go get your tea.
Okay, I'm gonna get my tea. I'm gonna stop my video.
I'm going to close my email. Tammy, can you close your email?
My email's closed. That was Shelly's phone and she turned it off.
I turned it off, I promise.
Just canceling all notifications.
I think all my other junk that's open is not making sounds. I think we're good. But I can mute now too.
I thought John would be in eyesight for me. Is he over with you, Tammy?
Pardon?
Is John within eyesight of you? I thought he would be in here with me putting that YouTube on.
I will tell him that you're feeling anxious.
I thought I would be able to see him do it. Because I don't want him to put it live and we're all sitting here talking to each other.
I should go and make faces in all of the windows at you guys as you're talking. That would be funny.
I gave John one job and he is not doing it the way I need him to.
He's on his way to you.
Thank you.
I should go make funny faces in all the windows where they're talking. That would really be funny.
The video's good. Did we get 30 seconds?
Morning, Shelly.
Morning, Josh. How are you? Oh,
Good.
not Shelly. Sorry.
I wasn't. No offense, but
Wow. Shelly, what deep voice you have.
I'm just wondering, Tammy's mic, is it blocked, but is there something in front of her laptop?
No, it's,
Tammy's
it's actually
there too.
The mic is on the top thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's just, it's fine if you're, I think Shelly will just have to like speak clearly at close to the microphone. So, yeah, it's fine. Like I can hear it. It's just, I think we'll get some people commenting if she's back a little bit from the device. So just some feedback.
Denise's black screen. I'm going to pin my screen.
What is the presentation?
Hello, Shelley Nemi.
Oh my God. No.
Hello.
That was
Hello,
right on-
Shelley Green.
Hello,
That was
Shawnee.
right. That was right on cue.
That was so good. That was so good. I'm sitting in a lovely kindy classroom over at Marigold right now, and it is so awesome. It is like bringing my heart the biggest amount of joy.
The culture at that school is so awesome. You walk in and it's like really calm, very welcoming. Is Darlene still in the front office?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. We're doing a drum making workshop here with all of their entire school. It's so great.
Nice. That's awesome.
Looking at the
She,
images, the colors behind your head, Shelley, up on the board there. I see that.
What?
Yeah, those are awesome.
I know. They are like, I think they're Haida Suns, to be honest with you. That's what they are. Very good.
That's like the perfect backdrop. We got the flag. We got
It's all there.
Oh, there.
See if Darlene has any chocolate while you're there.
Oh, I totally brought big chocolate bars for all of them, actually.
She always fed me chocolate when I was over at Marigold to make me come back more.
Oh, sounds like you have a favorite here.
Strategy.
I also ran into her at hot yoga one time.
awkward.
Okay, guys, we are putting it on the site now. So I appreciate the banter that's happening, but we are going to go live now on the site for people. Okay,
What can they see then?
they're going to see.
Okay. So muting now until, we won't unmute until after Butch's video, then Shelley will talk, then me, then Denise.
Cowichan CMCA Asa Eucalypton Chilea San Lakongan ACM New Chelita ACM New Shwalakwa Haishkwa Kwansana Techel Lakwagan Tanach Haishkwa CM Naquilia. And that's a traditional language of our people, the Lakwagan dialect. Good morning, my friends and family. My name is Butch Stick. I'm from the Songhees Nation, the land of the Lakwagan people. And I would like to express a gratitude to the Greater Victoria School District for recognizing the traditional territory. This used to be the territory where other neighboring nations came to harvest herring and smoke herring before they returned to their land. And Lakwagan Tanuk just means the land of the Lakwagan people. So we thank you very much for this opportunity, expressing gratitude for people that come to our territory and visit our territory. And we always lift up our hands to Haishkwasiem.
Good morning. Thank you, Butch. That was a wonderful welcome and start to our fantastic day. I want to welcome all of our staff to an amazing day here in our Greater Victoria School District, end of October, knowing that all of us have done some amazing things. It's been a really tough time to work through COVID, a pandemic, work together, all the different learning platforms that you've been involved in and creating, thinking how to involve our students and bring them in. And I know it's been an entirely challenging and tiring time for people. So today is going to be a fantastic day, listening to the amazing speakers that you have, time to work together and think about education rather than pandemic for a change. So I hope that you have a fantastic day with each other, great speakers. Definitely want to recognize the amazing people that worked hard to put this day together for folks. They've done an amazing job. It's a different platform. It's kind of odd and weird, something we haven't done before, but I've looked down the menu of things that are going to happen today and know it's going to be a fantastic day. So take that time, breathe, think education, and put the amazing ideas forward that you've done today. I hope you enjoy your Friday and have a great time working with each other. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tammy Renyard, and I'm part of the district team. As Shelley said, today wouldn't be possible without the hard work of so many people, and I would just like to thank all those who participated in putting things together for today. We're very grateful to have both Shelley and Butch be able to open our morning. We have over 700 people registered, not counting the staff who are presenting and working to support sessions. We're super excited to get to learn and grow with you. Thanks to our presenters who took time to design the opportunities to share with you. We know you're already busy in what you're doing, and we truly appreciate your commitment. Now I have the great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Denise Augustine is the Director of Indigenous Education and Learner Engagement for the Cowichan Valley School District. She's seconded to the Ministry of Education right now, where she's supporting and implementing the British Columbia Tripartite Agreement and working on professional development for ministry staff. Denise was a recipient of the 2016 Inspire Indigenous Education Award for leadership. Denise, she's active in local, provincial, national, and global conversations, always seeking equity for Indigenous youth and children. Personally, I've known Denise my whole life. For both our sakes, I won't say for how many years, but it's been a lot, and I'm grateful to call her my friend. Professionally, we've been connected for about 16 years in this work. I admire Denise's intelligence, passion, and deep commitment for making a difference to students. She's grounded in community and family, and she has a knack for asking really tough questions with compassion and kindness. And lastly, she has high expectations for all of us in education. Denise, thanks so much for being with us today. We're really grateful to have the opportunity to learn alongside you.
Thanks, Tammy. Good morning, Aitnetas, everyone. Those are some pretty big words, and I'm humbled and a little bit self-conscious. So folks, just lower your expectations a little bit, will you? Okay, I'm imagining you in your pajamas with a cup of coffee or tea, and we're going to spend a little bit of time together this morning. Hopefully, I like to think of it as having a conversation. Unfortunately, I'm the only one who will get to talk, but we'll do what we can with that. So good morning, everybody. I'm going to share my slide deck now. There we go. Okay, Tammy, can you just give me a little thumbs up? Are we all good? Is it, we can hear and see? Okay. I just really would like to, first of all, raise my hands to Butch Dick and really feel gratitude to the Lekwungen Mastimoch for, the heritage and deep wisdom that they carry of the place where Victoria is situated. I'm calling to you from Cowichan territory today. And I just would like, before we begin, to talk a little bit about who I am and where I come from and why is it me that's standing here in front of you this morning. You see in front of you a little bit of a story about who I am. Antha Swialt, my Hulkminam name is Swialt, Tanitsan Alp Staminas. My family's from Shemanis First Nation. In the top right corner of the screen, you can see a picture of my mom, Kwat Lamont, also known as Jane Marston. And in the top left corner, you see a picture of my dad, David Marston. On my mom's side, I have Coast Salish, Hulkminam, English and Portuguese ancestry. And on my dad's side, I have English, French, and Métis ancestry. And as my daughter is fond of saying when she presents, there's a party going on in here. We got all kinds of things going on in here. And so it's with that I bring myself to this conversation today. A little bit about my family. I come from a family of storytellers, and most of them use visual arts for their storytelling. You might be familiar with some of their work. My brother John, who's standing with my mom, if you've had the opportunity or the privilege of traveling between Galliano and Vancouver, you might have seen his art on the Salish Eagle ferry boat. Maybe you're familiar with the box that's in the top of the screen there. That's the box that traveled with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That was done by another one of my younger brothers, Luke, who you can see with my dad there. And just, on the, for interest's sake, on the front of the box there is a First Nations woman crying. And Luke was inspired by the story of our grandmother who went to residential school. And her left hand, you can see the top, or the two fingers, her pinky and ring finger, are shorter. When we were growing up, our grandma could never use those two fingers. She always had them bent over. When she was a child, she was at school, residential school, and fell down the stairs and broke her hand and was denied medical attention. And so just to pause for a moment to let us remember that, we have a history here in BC, in Canada, and that we're still repairing from. If you have the privilege of going to Stanley Park, you'll see that sculpture if you go to the totem area in the bottom left corner of your screen, and that is a cod lure. Underneath the cod lure are three people. One is Portuguese Joe, our great-great-grandfather, and on my mother's side, and his first wife, Kahultanat, who unfortunately passed away when they were only together for a couple of years. And then also Kwat Lamont, our great-great-grandmother. And along the bottom, around the bottom of that sculpture, you can see some traditional Portuguese tiling. What I really love about this story is it's a beautiful story of what can happen when people from difference come together with mutual respect and find something that neither could create on their own. And so that's also how I come to be in this conversation today. And there's a few more stories on this slide, but those are for another time. In our little bit of time together, we are going to explore this idea of equity. What is equity? Why does it matter? And how do we get there? I'm just going to give you 10 seconds. Just think for a moment about those questions. Okay, just before we go on, I'm just going to check with Tammy again, because Tammy, you're the only person I can see. So is there anything else I need to be considering? Okay, let's continue. All right. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so with those questions in mind about equity, let's talk about why we're even having this conversation. So there's some things that sit really clearly for me. One is that it is fascinating that right now we know that 3 out of 5 6-year-olds, we don't know how they're going to make their living. And yet, in many cases, they're still in learning environments, studying a curriculum that looks the same as it did 50 years ago. So this is a picture of one of my nephews, Tate, and I just think it really captures an opportunity for us to reflect on this. Have we changed what education looks like for our learners, given the rapidly changing world today? For instance, there's a bunch of information about gig economy. Our youngest daughter and son-in-law are currently fit into this demographic. They're creating their own, they're self-employed, they're creating their own employment on contracts. Fascinating that, one of the pieces of information that I'm looking at says that by 2027, most people will be employed in the gig economy. I also think it's really interesting what we've noticed over the last 7 months about how these folks have been impacted and how things have changed. Super interested to see how food delivery has increased, things being brought to us as opposed to us going out and shopping during this time. I'm curious about how that's going to impact how we educate our children in the future. What are the questions that we have around that? We used to talk about, there's a few things, and Tammy, I'm just going to age us a little bit. I remember being in high school and standing by the locker. For some reason, this memory just sticks clearly in my mind. Standing around with a bunch of friends talking about, wouldn't it be so cool if you could talk to people and see them for real live on a screen, and you didn't have to be plugged into the wall with a dial thing? Wouldn't that be so cool? And I gotta say, Dave, you commented on this morning. Look at what technology has done. How lucky, and what are the opportunities in, I'm presenting from my home, and there are many of you in your homes, and we're all connected through technology today. And so this sort of, brings to mind that the future is kind of today. It's happening. Toronto, self-driving cars are a thing. They're not way in the future. It's happening today. So this is a bit of a story about this fellow in Toronto who they've already got the technology and the vehicles for those people doing deliveries. they don't have to drive anymore, professionals, and they're anticipating that for professional drivers, this is going to be the way of the future. Interesting, again, they're talking about less time is being spent by most folks in going out and buying stuff and instead having stuff come to us. So there are many ways that the world is changing. And here's the thing. So you can already pick up what, my take on things. I think if we want an equitable system, we have to be willing to be doing things different. And here's the part that to me is really important. So I've been an educator for over 30 years, and I do things differently than I did 30 years ago. And it wasn't that what I did 30 years ago was wrong. It was right for the time. But the world is changing quickly, and we need to continue to ask ourselves, how do we make those changes? How do we adapt? I need to pause for a moment as well and let you know that it is with so much gratitude that I stand here and speak with you today. Friends have often heard me say, those people that work in the schools, in our public schools, are my favorite people in the world. I have the privilege of working with an elder right now, and she's coaching me. And one of the things she keeps saying, which I offer to you, is, Denise, you hold our children in your hand. This work is important. You hold our children in our hand. You hold our spectrum, our flowers, in your hand. I just really want to pause and say thank you. Haitsapka, siamnasiya. Like Shelley said at the beginning this morning, thank you for showing up every morning, every day, and working through a time with unprecedented stress, uncertainty, and change. If there's one thing that it has reinforced for me, it's how important each of us, each of you, are in raising our children. It's not just about learning. It's not just about 5.5 hours a day in school. Each of you has a role to play in growing our children and our future. So just haitsapka. With that in mind, let's circle back to that piece about equity. There are structures and places in our system where we have let folks down. Education in BC is amazing for most kids. We have one of the best education systems in the world. The folks that work in our schools are some of the best in the world. And yet not every student is being successful. And so how do we navigate that? How do we change that story? I know we can do better. This is where I really hate that I can't see your faces, but I'll just keep going along. I'm going to imagine you all nodding and thinking, and we'll continue on. So not only is the world rapidly changing, our classrooms are changing. I think this infograph has a little bit of information that I bet that you can relate to. I have a hunch that if I were to say, everybody stand up who, if this is true for you, you've seen more anxiety and mental health challenges for your learners than before. I have a hunch everybody would stand up. So this isn't new for us. The reason it's Alberta Teachers Association is because they are working with Harvard doing this teacher survey on behalf of Canada. So they're the folks that have done this. Just so you know, it's not because I'm not loyal to BC, because I certainly am. So our classrooms are changing. When I started teaching, first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Debbie Ma, who the next few slides I stole from, and I'm not sure where she's stolen from. If you've been to BC Case, You probably have seen these next 3 slides. I still think it's super true. When I started teaching, a typical student looked like this. And I could anticipate my class looking roughly like this. Maybe there were a couple of students who didn't quite fit the mold, but mostly they all, you know, were about the same. And this, I think, is what our classrooms look like today. They don't look the same as they did. And there's a couple of really great reasons for that. When I started teaching, if you were a child with diverse abilities, you weren't really in school that much. And if we look back even a few more years, you weren't in school at all with the rest of the student population. You went somewhere else. There was a time not too far in the past where if you were First Nations, you didn't go to school. So we're doing a great job of building more inclusive spaces, but spaces that invite diversity. And we still have some more learning to do about how do we manage that. I think that we're all asking that question. How do we create spaces where we can have every student participate? Interestingly, a couple of years ago, I was working with a group of new educators, and one of them said to me, Denise, because she was talking about the diversity in her room and the challenges with behavior and all the diverse learning needs. And she said, Denise, public education isn't supposed to be like this. And what I thought about that is it was a really good illustration of what we think should be happening or used to happen in our classrooms and what we actually see in front of us. You know, a good friend and colleague of mine, Rod Allen, who if you join us for the next session, you will have the privilege of having him join our conversation, says, you know, we're not leaving our best kids at home. They're all here. This is who they are. So how do we do this work together? The great thing is, my friends, I believe that we actually do know how to do this work. So think for a moment about a time when you were in the flow, as they say, when you were deep in learning, when you were excited, when time seemed to stand still. Think about that. Okay. Think about a few words that you would use to describe that. I would call that an ideal learning space. So what were the characteristics of that? So Rod and I were co-presenting a few years ago, and we did that same activity and gathered words from folks, a group very similar to this group here today. And these were the words that came up with. I have a hunch if we surveyed you all today, it would be very similar. And you know how Wordles work, right? So the words that are most often chosen are bigger, and the less often chosen words are smaller. So just take a second and look at that. I'm going to have a sip of tea and just take a deep breath. You're welcome to do that as well. Okay. Another list, this is from Will Richardson, Conditions for Powerful Learning. I'll read them out. Safe environment, personal investment, real world application, fun, relevance to our lives, learning that's social. There are interesting questions, maybe questions that we don't actually know the answers to. The environment is positive. I feel safe and happy. A real audience. I'm not just doing this to get a great percentage. I'm doing this because there's a real purpose. It might involve passion, There are teachers and mentors, of course. Autonomy, agency. It's challenging and not time constrained. So here's the other part of what, you know, Will has published. This is what people never say. I'll give you a minute. So what I wonder is if we know the orange list is what makes strong, positive, meaningful learning, how can we still do so much of the white list? And I would suggest that you have more control over this than you might feel like you do. Okay, I think we're going to pause here. Oh no, we got one more slide and then we're going to pause. So take a look at this list. I don't imagine this is new for you either, and hopefully it's really affirming. This is from the Center for Educational Research and Innovation. And these are the key elements that were identified as creating effective learning environments. It's learning centered. So this is not the same as, this doesn't mean we don't need teachers and support staff. It means the opposite, actually. Profoundly personalized. We know every learner, what they need, where they're at, what their curiosities are, and we can support that. We know what their gifts are, and we work to nurture those gifts. It's inclusive. If we're that personalized, then everybody will have a place where they belong and where the learning feels relevant. Learning is social. Interesting. Some interesting things were, you know, this last 7 months is teaching us. Learning is social. It's one of the important piece of being in our public schools. And it's structured and well designed. So I think about Kim Ondrek, friend and colleague, who is working to build a school in Cowichan that really honors these things. And sometimes it looks like chaos, but as any kindergarten teacher will tell you, it might look like chaos, but underneath it's very well structured. So much thought has been put into it, and purposeful, and really speaks to the mastery that, you know, you all bring to the work that you do, why you're so necessary. Okay, so I've been blathering on. Hopefully there have been some pieces that have resonated with you. If you're on your own, I would invite you to take 5 minutes or so and just do some writing. What did you hear? What's resonating? If you're with a group, then please spend a few minutes chatting with each other. And I'm going to put it as a real 5 minutes. And I will see you back then. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you had some good conversations. I understand that there's a large group gathering, maybe in a gym or something like that. So we'll give them a couple of minutes to end their conversation. Not a couple minutes, a couple seconds actually. I got more slides to go, people. Let's go. Okay. Here we go. So I hope that everyone has seen this slide. If you haven't, will you please Google it and do a little bit of reading. So, you know, as you can see, this basically speaks to that idea that equality means everybody getting the same thing. Doesn't matter if it works for you or not. To be fair, we're going to give everybody the same thing. You know, so yeah, you can think of examples of that. Equity. When we talk about equity, we're talking about everybody getting what they need so that they can be successful, in this case, in their learning. And that doesn't mean the same thing for everybody. This can be a big idea when numerous conversations in the classroom, as I'm sure all of you have had, about what's fair and what's not fair, and helping our learners understand this difference. There are additional variations of this now where, for instance, the fence is removed. What does that mean? Other ones where it shows people picking apples from a tree and what do they need to access the apples. So if you're not familiar with this, please take some time, do a little bit of your own research, and become familiar with this idea. This is a first step in our understanding. I'm going to assume that we have that and move forward a little bit. So much of how we perceive our learners, people in front of us, comes from how we were raised, who our ancestors were, and the worldview that we have. Maybe you're familiar with the story of Red Parka Mary. It's a beautiful story. If you're not familiar, again, I invite you to go check it out. And it's about this child who has a neighbor named Mary. And partway through the story, the child says, the child is afraid of Mary and says, I think it was because even though I was only 7, someone, somehow, sometime had told me that because of her brown eyes, I should be frightened. Again, I just see this play itself out over and over again. I remember a conversation with my mother-in-law, for instance, when the girls were little, because if she saw somebody on the street that she thought didn't have a home, she would cross the street. And so we had a big conversation about what that was saying to the girls about that individual. And in this story, the child and Mary become fast friends and pick blueberries, and it changes their relationship and their understanding of each other, which speaks to that importance of us knowing who our kids are. So my mom will say, I'm tired of people looking at me and seeing a little old lady who needs to be saved. I don't need your help. I need you to get out of the way. And it's with that fierceness that, I have so much respect for her. Such a warrior. I just invite us all to remember that. So when we meet somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, we already have an image of who they are and where they come from. And we need to, unless we're aware of that and challenge it, then that becomes the main story. If you haven't listened to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's TED Talk, The Danger of a Single Story, please make time to do that as well. I'll send my slides to Tammy, so you have all these notes. She can send them out to you. And she talks about growing up in Nigeria and reading stories. The books that she read were British stories about eating apples, playing in the snow, that kind of thing. And she said, and so when she started writing stories, those were the stories that she wrote about. She goes on to talk about stereotypes and how they're not true. And certainly our oldest daughter has traveled a lot. And I remember the time she called me from an airport in Thailand and said, Mom, I'm trying really hard not to stereotype people, but I can see why people say the things they do about groups of people. And here's the thing. Stereotypes evolve because of seeing behaviors in a group of people. And it's not that, like Chimamanda says, the problem with stereotypes is not that they're necessarily untrue. It's that they're not complete. So my mom is a little older indigenous woman, Indian woman, as she calls herself. That's only part of it. She did have trauma as a child. That's not how she wants to be defined. When I think about the residential school legacy, that is an important part of my history and my ancestry and who I am, but it better not be the only thing you know about me or think about me. The other piece that she talks about, and Dr. Dustin Louie, an Indigenous researcher, also talks about this, but he's using the word decolonization, is that when we mirror back to people one thing about who they are over and over, that is what they become. So I can think about an example with First Nations learners in my community being told over and over again that First Nations kids are really bad at math, over and over and over again. And that becomes what they believe. They stop trying, some of them, because, First Nations people are bad at math, which is far from true. Math catchers, if you're interested in that question, please Google math catchers. All right. I would pick up the pace here. Oh, see, I don't even have an audience here to give me feedback. So what do you see when your students show up? I am going to show you a video from from 2 students from your district.
Hi guys, I'm Chantal. I'm a former Reynolds student, and some of you may know me in poetry or just around in the halls. So I'll be doing a poem today, and I'm going to introduce myself in my language.
All right, thank you for that. Apparently you don't see it. Hold on. Try again. This is where, you know, if we're in an audience, I can say, just talk amongst yourselves for a moment. What the heck? Well, Dave, we might need you to play it. Just hold on. I'll see if I can.
Hi guys, I'm Chantal. I'm a former Reynolds.
Okay, I think I've got it. Here we go. Let's try this again. Okay. Can you see it? Okay, great. Excellent. Here we go.
Hi guys, I'm Chantal. I'm a former Reynolds student, and some of you may know me in poetry or just around in the halls. So I'll be doing a poem today, and I'm going to introduce myself in my language. And there we go. So in order for me to graduate high school, I have to learn the curriculum of math, science, English, and social studies. I also have to learn someone else's culture and learn the second language. In order for me to succeed in life, I have to learn someone else's culture and learn the second language. In order for me to get a good job, a house, a marriage, I have to learn someone else's culture and learn the second language. Always being thankful for who I am and a reminder what my identity is and how as an Indigenous woman, I have to take leadership of the younger girls and how I will be one day a matriarch to little children and they'll look up to me one day, and I want to be able to sing my songs proudly and dance my dances.
My name is Eliana Hunt, and I am part of the Quality Nation. When I share my story and my traumas out to the world and not just Indigenous people, the look that the people give me, like the white people or just like people who are Indigenous, they look at me and they see a little girl. They see a girl who went through a lot of trauma and a girl who couldn't feel safe. I don't want them to look at me with pity. I don't want them to look at me and think, wow, I have to treat her differently because she went through this. I want them to look at me like I'm a powerful Indigenous person who can grow past that. And I want to show the next generation and this generation that we're all equal and that, yeah.
Thanks to Brad Cunningham and his crew for that. Really beautiful story. I get goosebumps every time I listen to Eliana talk about I'm going to be a matriarch one day, and I want to be able to sing and my songs proudly. Yeah. So are we making sure we see that when each of our learners and when each of us comes through that door? Okay. A moment to read this next. We're coming to the end of our time together, my friends. This work begins with knowing who we are and where we come from. We can participate in day-to-day social practices in a fairly transparent way and with a felt correctness. The problem is when we abide by routines and traditions of our social and cultural backgrounds in a tranquil, unmindful manner. As learners, understanding our prejudices as what constitutes our ability to experience the world is critical in our openness to the new, the different, the true. Learning at any age shouldn't involve becoming tranquilized. Rather, it should involve becoming more aware. If there's one thing you leave from our time together this morning, let it be this, an invitation to learn more deeply who you are, where you come from, what are the hopes and dreams, what are the fears and assumptions that you bring into the world with you every day when you wake up. There's some things that we can do once we need to begin that work. But they go beyond the pedagogical approaches, the things that you do in your classroom, which are super important, and in your schools. How do you greet the students who arrive late? How do you group your learners? And it's the structural pieces, though, that really give us the opportunity to make the biggest difference. And certainly the last 7 months have taught us about what we can do. Regrouping our adults, regrouping learners, and reschedule learning. And if you are interested in joining in the next session, we'll go into these three things a little bit more. Here's the other thing, I believe that a hopeful future is possible. And you need to find your people. Who are the people that can travel along with you on this? Don't try to do this alone. These three girls just randomly braided their hair together. And isn't that beautiful? What a beautiful symbol of neither of them loses their autonomy, but they create something amazing together that they couldn't create on their own. I'm going to leave you with this final video. I'm going to try to leave you with this final video.
Imagine the awesomest thing you can.
Okay. You can see it all right. Excellent. Let me just make it a full screen. And here we go.
Like an automatic grilled cheese maker, or a time machine, or a time machine with an automatic grilled cheese maker. Now imagine who's going to invent it. Him? Glasses here? Whoever they are? Or maybe her? Kids like these become the types of people that do things like this. Maybe we should ask this guy.
Knowledge is heavy. Sometimes it's a limit to have new ideas. That's the problem with the old schooling, because they were teaching answers. I believe questions are probably more important today than the answers.
Erno's cube is a question waiting to be answered. And when the right person finds the right question, something amazing happens. They start seeing the world as it truly is. Not a place to be memorized, but a place to be figured out, flipped, turned, twisted, and ultimately made better forever. Today, she may be an octopus, but help kids like her fall in love with problem solving, and they will embark on journeys to become scientists, artists, engineers, designers, inventors, or something no one's ever been before, but you can bet we're gonna need. That's why moments like this, go, and this, and especially this, are so important. Because there are companies to found, planets to walk on, time machines to invent, a future to be made amazing. We may not know what it's going to look like, but we know who's going to do it.
Yeah, so you can see why you're my favorite people. You are growing our children. And we can do this. We can, together, we can find a way. If we listen deeply to each other, if we remain curious to know who we are, who are the adults that you're working alongside, what are their gifts, and how do we lift each other up? If we're willing to journey together, I believe we can get to somewhere that we could never get to alone. And so with that, I invite you, my friends, to join us in creating a world where every single child and youth feels a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and is happy to show up with all of who they are. Hitsapka Siamnasiya, thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that you have finished your tea or coffee and are ready to get another one. I also want to take a moment to thank Tammy and Shelley Nimi for this opportunity to spend some time with you. Also to the team that are working behind the scenes, Brad and Dave and Josh and John. Thank you. It's Apka. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Shelley's just going to go live right now. Shelley, if you can put on your camera and mic. Gabe, you might have disabled Shelley's camera and mic.
Excellent. Perfect. So as I take a moment, I really just want to thank significantly from School District 61, our island relative, Denise, Augustine, because as a School District 61 family, Denise, I want us to take a moment to pause and reflect on the words that you've laid down for us today. And I'd like us to take a moment to reflect on the word gratitude. Elder Skip Dick from Songhees Nation has always taught me to close off our time together with gratitude. And Denise, I want to say that we're grateful for you. We're grateful for the stories that you've shared today with us and that you actually carry to help the education shift for the future of our children and for the generations that are yet to come. You have inspired us to reflect on the work that we actually still have yet to do here in School District 61 as a family, as we work towards equity across our own education system. And as we continue to do this work, and we want to bring you in as our extended family member, we have a gift for you. We want to work with you. And it's the gift of story, because knowledge is so, so valuable. We're going to ask you to sit with us and to choose some stories for our collections for across our school district. And they're gonna be remaining in our learning commons as a gift from you. We also have some artwork from Dylan Thomas that we have for you. We've got a lovely blanket here, but we just want to say Haichka Siam to you. You're so important and your work is so inspiring. I know that you're cared for. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Please join your next session at 10:30. We wish you a wonderful day of learning and growing together. Thank you, Denise, Haichka.